Hey, it's time to Spark 11 with the next Xenoblade Chronicles 3 class buff. Today I'm going to be going over ways to buff Lost Vanguard. Why am I buffing Lost Vanguard again? It's already one of the strongest classes in the game. I mean, look at this. This is unrivaled power. How can you buff this any further? Hang on, let me check the notes that I have for this episode. Oh. Yeah, we're going to be buffing it in gameplay, actually. So, Lost Vanguard. It's a block tank. It has the only regular smash art in the game. And that's it. It has basically no means of drawing aggro. It has a bunch of ways to draw aggro, except none of them really do much. And its only form of damage is smash damage. So, like with the previous episodes in this, we're going to be buffing it to fit more of its intended niche of being a pure block tank with smash damage. So, the only ways of really increasing the damage, we're going to focus on giving it better smash damage and giving it ways to hold aggro without just dealing damage. First up then, we're looking at the skills. And the first skill, when blocking, deals 200% of attack damage to enemy drawing aggro. I mean, it's a nice idea, it's just way too weak. So on a tank that doesn't really have big attack stat, this really doesn't do much. So I would increase this to 400% of attack damage. Still not a major source of damage or anything, but it will be significantly more useful, at least, to have quadruple your attack stat as spike damage. And then I would also change it to the aggro being drawn from this is 5 times the amount of damage being dealt. Now, it's not a huge amount of aggro overall when it compares to your DPS characters, but it will be nice supplementary aggro to go along with the other buffs that we're giving it. This stays, nothing wrong with that. Never Again is probably, if not definitely, I can't think of anything worse than this. This is definitely the worst defense field in the game. 20% chance to absorb attacks dealt to allies within range. It's pure RNG to get an effect, so it's useless. So I would change this to absorbs 10% of damage from allies within range. Not really great, but that's not the main thing we're doing with this. It would just be a bonus to take 10% of whatever damage is dealt within allies. Main thing is absorbs 10% of aggro off of allies within range per second. This means if you lose aggro while playing as the Lost Vanguard, you could just walk over to the ally that has aggro and you can absorb it off of them. I mean, you could absorb it off of anyone, even if they don't have aggro. Or if you are not playing as the Lost Vanguard and you get aggro, you can just walk over to the Lost Vanguard and they'll absorb the aggro off of you. And then the last skill, this is just absolutely worthless, completely worthless. So if you've seen previous episodes, you know that as part of these buff theories, basically we just remove Seraph from the game and give all its broken stuff to other classes to balance them out better so that they're not completely broken, but they're a lot more useful. Universal Annihilation. Boosts damage dealt to toppled and launched targets by 150%. So if we were going to give this to Lost Vanguard, and even more importantly, if this was not a master skill, that would give Lost Vanguard a much better niche as a smasher to get an exclusive boost to launched enemies. So now on to the arts. I'll also just mention that if it wasn't a master art, then the competition for aggro from damage is a little bit lessened since you won't have all your DPS characters doing as much to toppled and launched enemies for drawing aggro on themselves. Though the main thing is just it would be an exclusive boost for Lost Vanguard to be more of a designated smasher. Now, you could also make Mighty Beat not a master art, but I don't think that would really have a big difference since the main way you're using Smash on a lot of other characters, aggro is not an issue anyway, so it's not really going to matter. Thundersteel, I honestly don't have any ideas for this. It's there. It's a very fast talent art. That's really it. I can't think of any way to buff this, really, because it just doesn't do much. So Mighty Beat, I would change this a bit so that it would be even better for tanks, and it really wouldn't affect DPS too much with this change I'm about to make, because again, you don't really care about aggro when you're smashing most of the time anyway if it's not a tank. I would change this to boost aggro generated when using art by 200%. So instead of just doubling the aggro, it triples the aggro, and smash damage is huge, so that would give you a whole lot more aggro when performing a smash. On top of the boosted damage that Lost Vanguard would get from having Universal Annihilation, it would really help with aggro generation just from this alone. On top of the other supplementary forms of aggro like the field and the block spike damage. Shockwave, I don't really have any ideas for this. It's fine. Shield Wall. This is also fine. It's just that it's very lacking in ways to draw aggro. Its arts are pretty good. It's just very lacking in aggro. Electrofield. Alright, this is a weird one. I mean, you've already got Thaumaturge with an Armor Veil field, so it's weird that you have an Armor Veil field on a tank like this. I would change this to being an Armor Veil buff. Just automatically applies Armor Veil to all allies within a certain range. Just make an AoE buff for all allies. That would help a lot, especially with the change that I would make to the field. I mean, the field, the defense field that comes on the class as a skill, that if you're giving Armor Veil to your allies, and then you're also absorbing the damage off of them, that would give them a big defense boost so that they could survive hits while you're just near them. And it would just make it a lot easier to apply instead of having this as a field. It's just a very weird thing to have. So I would just make this a direct buff. And then lastly is Taunt Pulse. This deals spike damage and draws aggro. I'm not really sure how the aggro drawing works on this. I'm not sure if it draws aggro with the spike damage or if it just draws aggro per second. If that's the case, I would increase the aggro that's drawn per second. I'm not exactly sure how much it should be, but I don't know, just increase it so that it's another supplementary form of aggro drawing. When you have a bunch of little ways of drawing aggro, then you'd have a good way of keeping aggro overall. And yeah, that's it for Lost Vanguard. Made a mistake at the beginning thinking we were buffing a different aspect of the class. The part that does not need any buffs at all. No buffs needed there. So next time I think I'll be doing Summoner, buffing that one, and I'll also have Guardian Commander at some point. And then I've also got buffs planned for Ouroboros forms. And those are the only ones left to do, I think. But I'm spreading these out so it's not just once per week, so it'll be a while before I'm done with all these Xenoblade 3 buffs. If you want to see the other class buff theories that I did, then you can check out the playlist that should be linked up in or down in the bottom left corner right now. If you watched the end, comment Blossom Dance down below to let me know, and see you next time!